Okay, what I want to talk to you about today is based primarily on our findings that were published in this book. My co-authors, myself. We surveyed 537 pastoral councils and 530 parish finance councils. We also conducted some focus groups. And I know some of the members of focus groups were members of the Trenton Diocese. Anybody here was in our focus groups? No? Okay. So this is the source of what I'm talking about today for the most part. Okay, when I was invited to speak with you today, I was really honored. I was really excited to say, wow, I can hardly wait. But the more I thought about it, the more nervous I got. I said to myself, wait a minute. I have to talk to both finance council members and pastoral council members. I mean, I'd be real comfortable talking to one group or the other, but to talk to both is going to be tough because, you know what, there's a lot of differences. But the more I thought about it, the more I said, but there's also a lot of similarities. So today I'm going to start talking first of all about the differences between finance councils and pastoral councils, and hopefully through that process you'll be able to learn more about your particular council, and then we'll still switch over to talk about the similarities. One difference, Canon Law. This is what the Canon Law says about pastoral councils. After the diocesan bishop has listened to the presbyteral council, if he judges opportune, a pastoral council is to be established in each parish. The pastor presides over it. I'll get back to that in a few minutes. And through it, the Christian faithful, along with those who share in the pastoral care of the parish, in virtue of their office, give their help in fostering pastoral activity. This pastoral council possesses a consultative vote only. I'll get back to that a little bit later. And is governed by norms determined by the diocesan bishop. In other words, pastoral councils exist only to the extent that the diocesan bishop wants them to exist. Okay, the diocesan bishop doesn't want them, they won't exist. If he wants them, they will exist. Understand your bishop wants them. How about finance councils? Canon 537 reads, each parish is to have a finance council, regulated by universal law as well as by norms issued by the bishop. In this council, the Christian faithful, selected according to the same norms, and the pastor, the administration of parish goods, with due regard for the prescription of Canon 532. Canon 532 talks about the administration of parishes, the pastor's responsibility for administering parishes. So you can see that finance councils are mandated by Canon Law. Pastoral councils are not. Now, I don't want all you finance council folks out there getting real uppity because you're mandated by Canon Law and pastoral councils are not, okay? We need both. Okay, so that's one difference, is the difference way Canon Law teaches them. Again, pastoral councils are not mandated, finance councils are. A second is through their purpose and functions. Now, Mark F. Fisher is a theologian, teaches at a seminary out on the West Coast, and he's sort of the guru of parish advisory councils. And Mark cites Aristotle in referring to two different types of knowledge when he talks about councils. One type of knowledge is scientific knowledge, knowledge that is always and everywhere true, in other words, facts. The other type of knowledge is practical wisdom, knowledge sought through means of dialogue, which is a little bit more subjective. Well, pastoral councils are concerned with practical knowledge. If you're on a pastoral council, your role is to represent your parish and learn about the culture of the parish, how things operate, what's important to parishioners, what's on their mind. You deal more in subjective areas, much less in pure facts. Finance councils deal with scientific knowledge. Finance councils deal with facts. If you're on the finance council, you probably use GAAP accounting, for example. If you're on the finance council, there are probably some diocesan standards for the way we record things. Does the diocese have a standard software for finances that everybody uses? Yes. Yeah, okay. PariSoft? Yeah, okay. Good, because that's real helpful for the diocese. So, I mean, that's the kind of stuff you're dealing with if you're on the finance council, are facts, whereas pastoral council is dealing more with learning about the parish and representing the parish, and more about, again, the subjective issues. Okay? You also use different methods in searching for your information. Pastoral councils, more inclined to consult with fellow parishioners. If you're on the pastoral council, you should make it your business to talk to your fellow parishioners and find out what's on their mind, find out what's important, because you represent them on the council. Finance councils, less likely to be influenced by less subjective professional standards. If you're on the finance council, you should know what the parishioners are thinking about budgets and issues like that, but it's less important that you consult with them than finance council folks, or pastoral council folks who have to be out there all the time talking to parishioners. How about the membership? Well, typically the pastoral council will be about twice as big as the finance council. Okay, it's more important that we have a larger pastoral council. It's probably not a good idea to have too large of a finance council because they do deal with factual issues. And too large of a council could get confusing. I wouldn't want a pastoral council too large. I think 10 to 15 is a nice number. 20 would be unwieldy in my mind. So typically we like the pastoral council in the low teens. How they're selected, okay? No matter how you select your pastoral council members or finance council members, make sure you get the best people, okay? Resist the temptation to try to get every group of the parish represented. Because if you do that, first of all, you won't necessarily have the best people. And secondly, you might have people who think that they are on the council only to represent their constituency. For example, we might be trying to put together a pastoral council and say, you know, we don't have any white male senior citizens here. Let's ask Chuck to be on the pastoral council to represent the white male senior citizens. Well, first of all, I might not be the best person to be on the pastoral council. And secondly, the temptation would be to say, well, gee, I'm here to represent the white male senior citizens. So in all discussion, I will make sure that I push what's best for my group and not what's best for the parish. Okay? That's the risk you take when you try to have every element of the parish represented on either council. So I really urge you to try to avoid that. Get the best people. Now, you don't want to be too unbalanced. You know, if your council is made up of 15 white male senior citizens, you're going to lose credibility. But on the other hand, make sure that you have not made an exerted effort to put somebody on the council just because they represent an underrepresented group on the council. So, pastoral council, how do you select them? The best method is through some sort of a discernment process. Okay, get together and let the Holy Spirit work through the discernment process. Many parishes use an election. Okay? Some use what's called a council of ministries, where every ministry sends one person to sit on the pastoral council. And frankly, I really don't like that idea because, again, if they're there because they sit on a particular ministry, they, one, might not be the best person to be on the council, and secondly, they might feel their role is to represent the ministry. Okay? So I really don't think that's the best idea, but, it happens. There's one diocese in the country whose policy is that members are, for the pastoral council, selected by lot. Okay? You put the names in a hat and pull them out. Their feeling is that was good enough to replace Judas on the apostles. It's good enough for our pastoral council. But otherwise, their feeling is, there's some folks who would be really good at the council who are reluctant to step forth because of the election process. They don't want to stand for election. They don't want to risk maybe losing an election, perhaps. I don't know. But these really good people might step forward if they knew it was going to be random by lot. And so, that's the way that one diocese does it. I'm not sure it works for every parish, but that's their thinking. And of course, some members are ex officio. That should be on there. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. Finance council, you wouldn't want to have an election for the finance council. Okay, that this is too important and the skills necessary are too critical to risk having an election or a discernment process. Typically, the finance council members are appointed by the pastor, or if the pastor doesn't feel secure in knowing all of the qualified candidates, he might take recommendations from the council. But you wouldn't have an election or discernment for a finance council. That's, again, back to Mark Fisher, a specific skill set is needed for the Finance Council. How about the background? Well, the Pastoral Council should have knowledgeable parishioners. Okay? Should have folks who have been involved in a variety of ministries throughout the parish, who understand the parish, understand the parishioners, who are able to consult with parishioners to represent them. Okay? You wouldn't want someone who's a brand new parishioner, for example. No matter how qualified they might be, if they don't have knowledge of the parish and understand what parishioners are thinking, they wouldn't be much help. Finance Council members, you want more financial background, or at least some various business background. You probably want some accountants on the Finance Council. You don't already be an accountant. You might also want someone, for example, who has a background in facilities, or maybe a lawyer, or someone with other background. But I think you need folks with knowledge of business on the Finance Council. Because they do deal in specifics. Another difference, should parishioners submit agenda items? I think it's a good idea for pastoral councils. I think pastoral councils should encourage parishioners to submit items for their agenda. Now, they might not make the meeting, and as they form the agenda, they might not make it, but at least parishioners know they have that opportunity. But if we do, we have to make sure parishioners know what happened to their suggestion. If it was decided that their suggestion does not appear on the meeting agenda, they should know why. If it does appear on the meeting agenda, they should know what happened to it. You shouldn't just let it disappear there. But I would encourage you to open this up to parishioners who might feel strongly about a particular topic and would like to see pastoral council discuss it. Finance councils, nah. I don't think it's a good idea to have parishioners submit agenda items to finance councils. I don't see any benefit there at all. Okay, there's a need for conflict of interest guidelines for finance councils, but not for pastoral councils. Okay, I don't see a need for these type of guidelines for pastoral councils, but for finance councils, it might well be that as the parish hires vendors, some of these vendors might be serving on the finance council, or they might be friends of members of the finance council. There's nothing wrong with that, but the parish should have some guidelines in place. So if someone challenges, well, why was this vendor contract given to person A and not person B, and they suspect there is a conflict of interest, if the parish has guidelines and they followed guidelines, that's all that needs to be in place. So I really encourage you, most parishes don't have conflict of interest guidelines. I encourage you to be proactive in that way and develop some so that if the issue ever arises, the parish is covered. Okay, those are the primary ways in which the two councils differ.